Hello crafty friends, this is Barbara Sproatmeyer. I thought I would come in and do a quick coloring. I wanted to color up an image for this event, and but only had an hour, so I'm going to see what I can get colored done real quick and see what turns out. Before I get to that, here are some coloring sessions that I have available if you are interested. They are rubber stamps that I will send out to you, and the classes were recorded on Zoom and then uploaded to YouTube so that you can watch them. And I currently have 4 that are available at the moment. And today I'm going to color this image, which is a digital stamp. It's Polka Dot Pals Fern in a mason jar. And I'm going to start right off the bat and get coloring, because I don't have a lot of time. A lot of times the time that I spent in coloring an image is planning it out, getting my colors mapped out in my mind, and figuring out what it is that I'm going to do with my image. But sometimes it's nice to be able to have at least the image and the project that's already planned out. And that's the idea behind these Polka Dot Pals digital coloring scenes from Whimsy Stamps. And in this particular case, well, in all of the digital coloring scenes that are available from Whimsy Stamps, they are complete scenes. They have the character, they have oh, that first color was E31. I zoomed in, so you probably didn't see it. And they've got the scenes all planned out, so all you have to do is print it and color. And it's a lot like coloring in a coloring book, I think. I think I'm going to go a little darker on her skin. So this is one of the original coloring scenes that I've done. So I've colored this image quite a few times. And part of that, for me, a challenge that I like to do is coloring it differently. So if I did an orange jumper one time or a blue jumper, then I'm going to try to pick a different color and challenge myself to step out of my comfort zone, or at least the colors that I normally pick right up front, which for me is generally blues and greens. Those are my favorites. I do like the cool colors more. So for this one, I am going to color the jumper purple. I haven't done that before. Anyways, these digital coloring scenes are awesome, and during this event there are 3 of them that are fairy related, and they are on sale. And if you want to support me with an affiliate link, you can jump onto my blog and click on that, or you can just Google Whimsy Stamps and search under the, or look under the digital category for mine stuff. Barbara Sproat digital coloring scenes. This is also my first time coloring and trying to talk at the same time, so that I don't have to do any editing afterwards, which for me is a big deal. The editing takes a long time. So I thought, well, I'll give this a try and see what I could do to remove the editing process and make it a lot more simple, so that I could provide more content. And you'll have to let me know how that works for you guys. What is it that you guys enjoy watching? I think I'm going to give her some blue hair. I haven't done that before on this image. Hair is one of those things that I can spend hours on, but I don't really want to. I don't like doing that. So I always look for shortcuts in the hair department. There are some excellent tutorials out there that show you how to get really incredible results for hair. And in a video that's only going to be one that's going to be shorter than 1 hour, certainly don't have time for that. So I think in time-wise, I think that's an interesting subject, is how long do you take in coloring? There are some projects that I'll take 2 hours to 4 hours in order to color. And then there are others, it's usually not a whole scene, but I try to get it done within an hour. And then the card making can also take a long time, so I've found ways to simplify that in my life so that I can have a happy medium between coloring and card making and how it fits into my lifestyle. Now, one thing I'm trying here is I'm going to mix the blues and the teals. I'm not sure how that is going to turn out, but I have a habit of sticking with a certain color palette. So like if I was to do blue hair, I would only use my blue colors. But I really think it adds a lot of depth and interest to the image if I could pull in other colors, like maybe a little bit of purple, a little bit of teal or green. So I'm going to try to do that on this image. That's one of my goals. And I don't mean to set out with goals, but, well, this is kind of the personality I am, so I find myself trying to trying to meet those goals as I color along. So I will try not to count too many, but I've got color this scene within an hour. Number 2 is color it differently than I've ever colored it before. And then 3, I'm trying to pull in other colors. Just shift the thinking just a little bit. So blue to bring in some blue-green or purple. And pink, maybe pull in some purple. We'll see how that works. Alright, I think her hair is coming along actually pretty nicely. Let's see if I can get some more depth and more blue. Yeah, I think that, well, not sure. It's kind of like a little process of, into my brain of thinking how I color an image for the first time. Now my classes are totally different. Those are planned out. Instead of filling in verbally with nonsense noise or just trying to talk about what I'm doing or why I'm doing it, in my classes I'll actually walk you through where to place your colors and any tips that I think are helpful. There, I think that's coming along. It's hard to get through these flowers. Okay, so she's got blue hair. I think while I have my blues out, I'm going to do one of these bells. Oh, gotta get my color out there. And these bells are supposed to have a shine to it. One thing I noticed about things that are shiny is they have weird shapes. So I am going to add weird shapes here as I color. And hopefully it'll turn out and look nice. But and then of course there needs to be some white highlights too. I gotta figure out how to put those in. Yeah, let's try that. Looking back, that doesn't, taking a step back, that doesn't really look like bells. I'm wondering how I can recover from this. That does not look like what I think it should look like. That's one thing that I like to do also. My philosophy in coloring is, even though I think I've messed up, I'm going to keep coloring. And a mistake I will leave in there if I need to. Because overall, what it looks like when it's finished, that's the important thing. And sometimes it actually turns out better once, in my mind, once the whole image is completed. And it doesn't look as bad as I thought. So I've always encouraged myself that even though I think it's not the way I want it to be, I'm going to continue. And that bell is a great example. That is definitely not the way that I think it would look, but we'll continue and see how it works. Let's see here. I'm going to bring in some blue on this worm. When I color, and I like to try to disperse the color around my image, at least in 2 or 3 different spots. I think by having the blue in 3 spots, it keeps your eyes moving throughout the image and adds interest. So there are 3 spots there. Okay, next color. Let's work on that purple. And purple is always a hard color for me to work on. Partly because it's not my favorite, and also partly because I don't have the Copic markers memorized, so it takes a lot of trial and error on my part to find the right color of purple. So I have a sketch. I do sketch it out over on the other side on my white paper and test out the marker just before I actually use it to make sure that I know what color I've grabbed. Although that makes for some interesting mistakes too, when you grab something and you're not quite sure what color. This is the same color. Not quite sure what color you've grabbed. And then you just gotta go for it because you laid it down. Whoops. I gotta get my paper pad out here because all of my lids are very dirty, and if I start putting them on my image, eventually a little piece is going to come off. Maintain some folds. This color doesn't look like it's blending extremely well. This is also new paper, and I'm pretty excited about it. I am used to, well, I did used to wear the Nina cardstock, and I still enjoy using that. And then Jennifer Dove got me into the Hammermill paper, and I bought 100-pound paper. Really, really enjoy that. And then I couldn't ever print out on my printer because that was just too thick a cardstock. So this is 60-pound cardstock from Hammermill. And so I'm kind of looking forward to how that is coloring along. I'll give it a, well, it's actually, this is the only choice I have unless I want to use just plain printer paper, and I have done that before too. Done that for quite a few years because that was all I had. But so whatever I'm going to find is definitely going to be a step up from plain printer paper. And so I'm very excited about this paper. And this is the Hammermill 60-pound. And it does go through my printer. Just barely. I think if there was a lighter one, I would probably try that one out. All right. I think let's add some purple up here. Let's see if we can get this bell done just a little bit better. Okay, I think, sorry, that was a little bit lower. I think I'm going to like this one better. Hopefully, that's like giving myself good luck wishes. You can do it. You can do it. Nice to have a cheer squad. I think on our shoulder we should have, of course, you got the devil and the angel. And as long as you pay attention to the angel more, then the devil just helps make sure that you're reassured that you're making the right choice. So he's still very important. I don't think I would take him away, but I would add more to my shoulder, and that would be a cheer squad. Yeah, that would look very weird, but we all need one. Cheer squad on the shoulder. Shoulder cheer squad. Alright, I do like this bell better. Got a nice purple to it. I like that. Okay. Alright, so we got some purple. What are we gonna do? I've got 2 areas of purple. I think, well, she is a fairy, so I'm gonna do the eyes purple. And at the moment, I'm not going to worry about the eye spot of the highlight. I'll come back in at the end and do that. I'll give her purple eyes. So also part of the eyes is in coloring. I don't think anything is actually white. So I always like to come in and add some gray. You know, I think, and this is just the colorless blender. Blend that a little bit. I think, oh, I'm going to do these flowers white. So when I color white, I try to come down to at least C, or to the 3rd number, C3, N3, T3, W3. Sometimes I'll go down to number 4, depending on how much space I have and how much contrast I want. Oh, and there's another flower down here that we need to add, C3. So this one, I start with C3, and then I decide if I want it to be darker. So in this particular case, only in some areas am I going to make it darker. Definitely the flowers that are behind her head. And I'm going to come in with C00. And blend that. And that's how I do white, is make sure that I add a little bit of those gray tones in there. And then the flower down here. All right, these flower centers, Let's see here. What else do I need gray while I have those colors? I think I need to do this part. So, let's see here. Let's start with the darkest color. My light source usually defaults to the top right corner, or it actually defaults to the side that the character is facing. So in this particular case is the top right corner. So as I color, I am going to try to have the darker parts of the image be on that left side. I just noticed I forgot this little area. So before I forget again, I'll just come in and color that. Okay, then I'll do some C3. And I'm coloring in with, I think, C1. This is a shiny object, so I'm going to try to leave a lot of white. Okay, so we got the lid done. What's next? Let's do, I wish I knew what time it was. Or how long. Oh, we've been 28 minutes. Oh, I gotta get going. Pressure. This is the colorless blender. Well, there's just some areas that on these white flowers that I'm just trying to push the color out. All right, let's do pink. Pink and purple, blue. Those are good fairy colors. Pink is another one that I don't have a lot of practice in using. So, click, 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 click. Trying to come up with a good pink color that I want to use. That's kind of a coral. You're not really seeing this, but I'm testing out my markers. Eek. Don't like that one. Time's a ticking. I gotta pick. If I don't pick, I'm gonna run out of time. Okay, I got a winner. We got one. R83. I thought I was gonna go for something in the RV zone, but none of those colors spoke to me. So I jumped over to the reds. 83 and 85. See, there we go again. I am sticking with 83, 85, 81. Let's see what other color I could pull in. I'm going to challenge myself not to use 81. Let's go with R21. Nah, it didn't turn out so bad. Okay, so we have pink. Let's do the center of these flowers pink. And the butterfly is pink. This is all the same color. What else can we do pink? Let's do the mushrooms pink. These are psychedelic mushrooms. You probably want to stay away from those. And I think I'm going to do the twine in pink. Pink and white. You know, why is baker's twine two different colors? That's my question of the day. Does anybody know? Was it only aesthetics? What is it that made baker's twine two colors? All right. These butterflies would be fun to spend some time on and come up with a pattern, but I want to make sure I get this image done, so I'm not going to do that. We're going to go for plain and simple. And my light source, I did think about that. That does help me do my placements of my shadows. Okay, what do we got? Make sure I go up through the image. Sometimes by going scattered like this, I do forget some things. I just have a compulsion to do all of that color. It's compulsive. Which makes me forget some things. Okay, we got our pink done. What do we have left? I think we have the scenery left. So let's do our greens. Oops. This is YG21. That marker cap is kind of in the way, so let's see what we can do to come in here. So my daughter says that this particular part of the jar should not be all green. And I asked her, I says, why not? It's grass. And she said, Mom, everybody knows that when you look at the side of a jar, you're looking at all the layers. So you should see the dirt underneath the grass. Well, yeah, she's right. I says, well, maybe it's a mound of dirt, and it just barely goes from edge to edge of the jar. And she says, Mom, that's unrealistic, because you wouldn't have a mound that comes up that high if that was the case. I have yet to color an image to that standard, but that would be like the bottom part of this jar here would be should be actually dirt, or, you know, a lot darker color. It was very brilliant of her, actually, to catch that. And she's really good at catching the mistakes like that. Very observant. So maybe in your future you will be challenged. You will feel confident to pick up that challenge. And the bottom of your jar is going to be a layer of dirt. You can probably add another worm in there too. That would be so cute. But I might do that. I should do that the next time I color this. That's just not something I can get done in an hour. So I'm going to bypass it. That's really dark green. I don't know if I can recover from that, but we'll see what we can come up with. That's definitely not close enough. There we go. Oh, that just changes the whole look. I wasn't really actually paying attention. I got so involved in telling my story. But that changes my plans for this image. This is really dark green for me, and I don't want it to overpower the rest of the image. So as I am coloring, I am trying to think of ways that I can incorporate other dark areas and balance that out. And I think I'll just do the rest of the scenery really dark. See how that turns out. Alright, so we got some green. One thing I'm noticing on this paper is that you don't need to have a lot of ink down in order to do your blending. Which is good. It just tells me that it's blending really well. I am leaving this little highlight here at the bottom of the jar so that there's a division between the grass on the outside and the grass that's on the inside of the jar. The magical grass that has no dirt. Okay, and then the last color, YG21. I also have a problem is inside this mason jar. I can't just have it all white. So what am I going to do? And I think I'm just going to come in and lightly color that background. There we go. Okay, now there's this little section here, and I'm just going to do that green. You could potentially do that as like a field of corn or other crops. You can probably make that in water. That'd be good. As for me, I'm just going to add more grasslands. And because this is off in the distance, I'm not going to go all the way to my light color. I think when you're looking into the background, you can decide whether you're going to go darker with each progression into the back, or you can go lighter. And I'm going to make this a nighttime scene. So I'm going to go with each element further along the horizon. I'm going to make darker. We'll see what a nighttime scene looks like. Okay, the next element is those squirrely things. And those can either be bushes or shrubs, or they could be clouds. You can make them clouds because that looks very cool. But because I've decided I'm going to do a nighttime scene, I am going to make sure that they're dark. And I'm going to make them into shrubs or tree lines or whatever is all the way back there. 70. Let's see. That almost isn't light enough. There's a huge gap between 72 and 71. Is it 71 or 70? I don't know, but there's a huge gap. Sometimes that's difficult to work with. Let's see. BG. It is 70. I'm going to find that. There it is. That is way too light. I was going to use that for this area, but you can't even see that. So, maybe 10. 10 is too blue. 15 is way too green. 93. Yeah, let's do that. BG 93. Come on down. I am keeping this white edge, trying to keep that white edge all the way around on my glass jar. Fill in what these shrubs would look like in the background. Oh, I almost filled in that white. Careful. Okay, what do we have left? Running out of time. I did notice that here I forgot to do some white, so I'm going to come on here, make that baker's twine stand out a little bit more. And here we've got the sky, and we have more of the mushrooms. I'm going to bring in my browns from the skin tones and color those mushrooms. At this point, I mean, I could add another element of color. Maybe color them purple. But I want to bring in some of that brown and disperse it in my image to help add some balance. E30. All right, looking it over. Let's do that sky. All right, on the inside, I'll do this a lighter blue. Yeah, deep in concentration. I don't know why I'm in concentration. That is a good question. I'm just coloring blue. That should be pretty easy. Ah, it's because I have to go around all these edges. I gotta hold my breath. Speaking of holding breath, I'm not sure if you're in for a story, but I was on my bike the other day and came across some roadkill. Ooh, yummy! And I realized that as a childhood, I felt that I had to hold my breath every time my parents drove past roadkill. And because, I don't know, if I breathed the same air in the same area, I don't know what would happen. You didn't breathe. You had to hold your breath till the car passed. And then you could breathe. I don't know if I'm the only one, but that is a quirk about me. I still do it sometimes, depending on how gruesome that roadkill is. Even if I'm driving in the car, I'll just hold my breath until we pass it. And I didn't notice that until I was riding my bike, because once you see the roadkill down the road, you can't hold your breath that long. It takes like 5 minutes to pass it? Definitely can't. So, I did notice that. My biking buddy thought that was hilarious. And I thought that was normal. Apparently not. So, if you hold your breath when you bypass roadkill, you have to let me know that I'm not alone. Ooh, this is a really, really dark blue. And I bet you weren't expecting that. I know I wasn't. But this is going to be great for a nighttime scene. I just have to make it around all of these edges. Oh, I'm coloring off the screen again. I'm going to turn my image around. This is the same color. I'm using the BG90 or the B97. I'll continue to use that until I put another color cap up. So I won't have to worry about keeping that on the monitor. I think this marker is dry, and that's why I'm having trouble with it. The tip doesn't want to color. Yeah, I'm seeing that's dry. Ooh. I think I'm gonna have to refill this marker. Oh, it takes some coloring time away. Make sure I get the right color. B97. I am a messy filler, so I have my rag here in case I need it. B97. Here it is. Make sure I get the right marker. Ink refill. Ooh, yuck. Oh yeah, professional color refill right here. Definitely want to do this. Not really. You guys can do a better job. So I encourage you to do a better job. Okay, I think we are back on the road with a nice juicy marker. Let's get back to coloring. Woo! I will use that blob. That is good for me. Now, one thing about coloring a solid space like this is you can often see your lines and your marks because it's not consistent. And for those who get frustrated with that, the reason that happens is because you're not getting a consistent layer of ink throughout all of the paper. I mean, a consistent ink through all the layers of the paper. So like when I'm going around the edge here, I'm going really slow and the paper soaks up more ink. Or when I go over a line twice, it has double the ink. So if you want to try to have a more consistent coloring, you just have to keep applying ink until the paper is fully saturated on all levels throughout that whole area. And there's a certain point that I give up, that I think that, a certain level of splotchiness is okay. So I try not to worry about it too much. Especially since I plan to do some stars. Okay, so that is B97. I want to just make sure that before I do my white that I have everything that I've planned out to do. And in this case, I'm going to do some shadows. So, zoom in, look at that. My bell would have shadows. These flowers. And this is actually something that I can't talk through. Talk about a different subject at the same time. Oh, I forgot to color that little area. That looks like blue. So B91. So deep in concentration, I'm just I'm going to point out the shadows. A little bit on the nose, underneath the hair, that bow under her arm, a little bit onto the sleeve. This pocket might have some. Underneath the elbow. A little bit behind there. Maybe these folds are going to have a little bit of shadow. That leg is going to be going over the foot. This foot is definitely over the grass. And she is sitting on the grass. See if that is everything. This worm. And these mushrooms. I can add shadows and come back in and do this all day long. Okay, I think I pretty much got the gist of it. Oh, her eyeball right here would be just a little bit of shadow. All right. Did we get everything? Now we're going to do some white. That is our image, by the way. We are done coloring. Where's my white? And time for some white gel pen action. So the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to add some highlights on her eyeball. And then give these butterflies something. The mushrooms, let's go with some doodles. We got 57 minutes. Well, we got the image done in an hour, but I didn't quite get everything done in an hour. Let's add some zebra stripes to this guy. What else can we do? Stars to her jumper. Okay, and I think that looks, oh, these letters here. I'm going to do a white highlight on all the right and top sides in these bubbles. This is to kind of give the illusion of a reflection, like it's raised, a raised edge. I should probably come in with a darker color. And give it a shadow too. And I think that's about it for our highlights. So there's 1 hour. This is what I was able to get accomplished in an hour. But I am going to come in because my only timeline was to get dinner done. So I'll just make something extra special for my kids. Excuse me, I gotta get some water because I'm going overboard, over my time limit. So here I'm just adding some shadow with C3. Oh, sorry, you didn't see that. Excuse me. And that helps those letters stand out more. All right, so now the only thing left to do, I think, are stars. So, stars, and like a lot of other things in nature, you want to try to make it look naturally random, but at the same time, they are methodically planned out. I'm going to turn this so that I can get to those stars easier. That way I'm not rubbing all that white off that I just put down. So I'm going to add some bigger circles and some smaller circles, try to make it look naturally random. I'm just glad my white pen is working for me today. Stars, stars, and stars. I wonder if stars would show up in here. Ooh, and I think, well, I'm going to put just a couple. Pretend that those are the brightest stars shining through. And then I'm going to come in and add some twinkling stars. Randomly. And here. Okay. Whew. I think that is finished. Let's get that on a card base. I wonder if I have one. I don't, but it isn't actually finished until I put it on a card. Right? Is that what we say? So, a lot of times, spend so much time on the coloring that I don't really want to cover it up with anything. So, I'm going to show you how I simply make a card. I've cut a card base and I folded it in half. And then the next thing I'm going to do, and I'm not sure you're not going to be able to see this, is I'm cutting another piece of white. Well, that did not cut very well. I have this positioned on my markers because I didn't put those away. So that's why it's not cutting very well. Alright, so I have my card base. I have another layer that's 1/4 of an inch short around all the edges. And then on this one, I am going to cut 1/8 of an inch all the way around. And so this card base is going to have 3 layers. If my desk was clean at the moment, I would probably grab a die because that's the best or the easiest way. So I have my card base, and then I have my first layer, and I'm going to cut that just a little bit down, a little bit more. Whew. Okay, so now that's just an 1/8 of an inch all the way around, or typical layering. Don't know if you can see that. And then my image is going to go right on top of that. Yeah, you may be wondering why I did 2 pieces of white, and that's because I end up just picking a marker that I've used, and I color the edge of my white. And this way I don't have to search for the exact color of cardstock, because it's just easier to match my colors if I have the color of marker. So I like to use glue instead of tape. That's my preference. Get that glued onto here. And get that one glued onto the card base. And that's complete. You guys got to see the video first, and I will have this blogged later. And I'll have all the markers listed, and you guys will be able to see that. But there we are. Here's a digital coloring scene by me, Barbara Sproatmeyer, available at Whimsy Stamps. And I hope that you guys enjoy your magical weekend. Thank you so much for joining. And I'm going to say goodbye, pumpkin pie.